Hello, everyone. This is Lowell Ann, your host, and greetings to panel members this morning. Hope that things are going well in your part of the world. Let's try and do some quick introductions this morning so that we can get right into our discussion. I've done a bunch of research, and I know that Nathan has done, and so has Paul. So I think we all may have some things to share. So I'll get us started with an intro saying that in my coaching and consulting work, I really like working with solopreneurs who want more from their business. Together, we overcome that feeling of overwhelm and the resulting procrastination as we put into place that business mastery plan and bring it into a joyful reality. So, there's really not too much new in my part of the world, which is Victoria, BC, except that we're having a bit of a heat wave, and we had our 30th anniversary of Symphony Splash this past weekend. I can't believe it's 30 years. Wow. Yeah. So let's see. Well, I'm going to go in the order in which everybody is in my film strip this morning. So, Paul, have you attended Symphony Splash?
I have. Almost every year, yes.
Almost every year.
Yes. I've missed a few.
Well, my friend who sets all that up, I asked her that question Sunday, and she said in the 30 years, she's only missed 2.
Amazing. Yeah.
And one only has been was canceled due to rain.
Huh.
In all those years, 30 years.
So it's a good weekend to plan stuff.
Yes. So, how would you like to introduce yourself, Paul?
Well, I'm always interested in people who have ideas and listening to them talk. And the challenge they have is usually turning those ideas into some kind of profitable action. So that's what I enjoy doing, is helping them proceed down that interesting path of life.
Right on. And you certainly helped me do that a few times.
It's always fun to all that.
Yeah. Oh dear. I was telling Paul before we went live that I did a little bit of online research, and I actually found a biography of Paul in my computer system this morning.
I think that might be termed as a virus.
Oh dear. So welcome here. I'm happy you joined us this morning, Paul.
Pleased to be here.
So Nathan, how about you? What's up in your neck of the woods?
Well, just being ready for what we're doing this morning. Is there something wrong with my speaking? Am I too loud, or is
no?
Every time I talk, I notice you're touching your ears. So.
No, it's the other way around. I realized that this wasn't in far enough, so the sound wasn't coming through.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so yeah, my name is Nathan. I'm in Mexico. My thing has been working with people to help them get the books published that turn them into an expert in their space. And the thing that came up last week was about the community building, and it's something I want to explore in quite a bit of depth. And so for this morning, I've got a fair bit of stuff to share with the group. Some of it is just stuff to be read later, and the rest is our conversation, whatever that will be.
Right on.
Yep.
So glad you made it, and thank you for your prep.
Well, I had to.
Yeah.
All those years of classroom.
Yeah, right. Well,
Seriously, yeah.
Stuff goes back, well, I've already said that. Where does the time go? Okay, so Vivek, how are things with you this morning? Afternoon, evening for you.
Yeah, it is evening where I am. Namaste. My name is Vivek Anand. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. So I aim to bring time-tested wisdom, which is actually part of my name, and happiness together into your business and life by unifying, simplifying, and amplifying simple technology and tools. Wake Technology Private Limited is my company. Together, let us wake up our potential. So, at the moment, I'm in UK. It is a warm day today. It's 24 degrees Celsius. It's been, I thought it's going to rain about an hour ago, but it hasn't. So, yeah.
Do you know what I love about your elevator speech?
Mm-hmm.
That term, that phrase you say, wake up your potential.
Yeah.
So your potential is there. I mean that so many people think that they have to acquire it from somewhere. And I just love that concept that the potential is there already. You just need to wake it up. I love that.
Thank you.
So David, how are you this morning? We didn't get a chance to chit chat before we got started this morning. Oh, are you speaking, David? Oh, there goes his phone. So.
Okay, sorry about that. Got a phone call that I have to take care of after we get done. My name is Dave Flannery. I'm with Affordable Websites for Small Business and United Countries Sauk Valley Realty, Team Flannery. I was on an inspection this morning at 8 o'clock, and the show starts at 11, and that inspection took every last minute of my time. The plumber ended up coming late. Then we ran into problems with the sewer line. Then we called the seller side and asked them if we could fix it. And then we waited for that, and then we got to fix it. And then we did the inspection again. And all of a sudden it's 11:15 and I'm on my way home.
Well, thank you for the heads up, because you did text me and I got it. And
there's a weird effect happening with your image.
Yes, I know. It's called Ant Wars. And I pressed a button on my
yeah,
and I can't get it unset.
It's going like that. Oh dear. So I also want to share that I got a very early morning text from Fred, who said that he would not make it this morning with us because he was getting himself to the airport to return back to Victoria. So so we're missing Fred this morning. So now I'm curious to know what is happening with the live chat, because I can see it in my item here. Oh, there's Heidi. Heidi, are you with us? If you are, please do unmute yourself and make yourself visible and introduce.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oops. I just wanted to stop by for a moment and see what you are up to do today.
Well, gosh, long time no see. So nice to have you back.
Yeah, but I sometimes worked from behind the scenes, you
Yes.
know, and listen to things. Not always I write comments, but sometimes I do.
Yeah, I know. I've always been aware that you're out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. I just wanted to put my other microphone on because I'm not sure if this works well. Anyway,
This is working
yeah, I'm
fine.
Heidi. Yeah, okay. I'm in Italy and it's quite warm here, and it's now 6 o'clock in the evening. It begins to be warmer. I almost get my feet out of the house because during the day I try to stay inside and not move. Yeah, and I'm doing the Wisdom Factory. I'm doing a lot of very nice interviews now, also many in German, and amazing people coming together. And with Noel Ann, we are trying to figure out what we can do maybe in autumn and winter about the conscious aging series, which is a bit different from what I'm doing normally. Yeah, so. And I invite you to check out what I have published about South Africa, because this was definitely the highlight of this year, in the last few years of what I have lived. And it was so insightful, my stay there, because it was guided by knowledgeable people. I was not just a tourist. So I wrote it in the wisdomfactory.net when you look for Africa, and so you find the.
And I might say I have watched that video, and I found it really interesting. And for me, like some of the things that you discovered, I discovered some time ago by working among First Nations people here in Canada, and actually also visiting Siberia, which was...
Yeah, I believe that's the case. Yeah, when we go far enough away, there are still people who are living a different life, which we think is primitive, but maybe it's not. Maybe we can learn something of it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I also interviewed, let's say, the organizer of the conference there and of the tour we did. And tomorrow I will interview the main person who led through the conference. And I have already uploaded a life story of a person who, from being homeless, has become a professor at the university, and how he explains how he went on with a different mindset. You know, it's amazing what can be. So when you stay tuned to the Wisdom Factor in the next few weeks and months, I will always publish something on this experience, and
right on.
Yeah, and I think we can learn something about it. And I think Vivek in India, there will be even there situations like that. I'm quite sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you joined us, Heidi. So I'm just making sure that I haven't neglected anyone. I've included everyone who is here. I sometimes have to bounce around my little film strip here so that I can make sure that I don't miss anybody. So last time we were talking about work-life balance, and somehow or other, I guess it was based on the importance of building community or being part of community, etc. And somehow or other, this whole thing about techniques for building a community came up. And for me, as I thought back about that, I began to remember a community or an organization that I joined when I first came to Victoria back in 2003. And I was a part of that organization for a long time. I took some major roles and did presentations and facilitated some interactive things, etc. And so I started going back through some of the material that I have that relates to host. And I don't know whether those of you who are here now, whether you know this, but host is how this success circle came into being. So I went back through some of the materials that I had, and we started off by forming what was intended to be a mastermind group, an online mastermind group. And sometime after that we decided that mastermind was kind of an outdated term, and so we chose success circle. So and just so everybody knows, I met Paul through host, and Jay, and Fred actually indirectly through somebody else that I knew through host. So the the connections happen. And so I mean, and the other thing that I began to think about was, yes, when we were doing the host meetups, those were face-to-face at a location in town. And I began to try to think through what are there differences, like when the techniques that you use for building community in a community, physically, are they different? Or are they similar to building a community online? So those were some things that came up for me. So and there certainly are a number of principles that seem to for me seemed as though they were important, whichever one you chose. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I know that some people think that meeting people online in an online community is not as useful as doing it face to face. I'm not sure about that, and I just thought it would be interesting to throw that question out to everyone. And also to acknowledge Jay. I see you there. Do you want to introduce yourself? No?
Hi, my name is Jay. Thanks for inviting me. My company's Magi Studios, and we help people get started in the world of online marketing through coach consulting and training. Hailing from beautiful sunny Langford, where it's a balmy 31 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
Back to you, Lowland.
What do you think? Is face-to-face meeting more effective than meeting online?
Well, what's the effect? What is the end result you're trying to accomplish? If you're trying to accomplish a sale, it certainly depends on what it is you're selling. If I'm selling refrigerators or large-scale items, or a vehicle, then obviously face-to-face is a lot more effective. But if I am trying to sell air fryers, then certainly door-to-door isn't as effective than doing online, right? So networking online. So, I'm a huge advocate of creating a community, whether it be online or offline. I do find that online is a lot easier to create a gathering versus an offline, because offline you got there's so many variables with offline: location, venue, topic, parking. Like now the host downtown is located downtown. So unless you have a bicycle, there's no hope in hell that you can actually park somewhere downtown and, attend a host meeting.
Well, so you point up a number of things, and that's kind of interesting. What about others? David, what about you? You're in a small community. What do you think about the difference between the two?
It's the same as Jay. Selling real estate is hard online. I mean, you can get buyers to come to you, but to build a community, it's better to do it face to face. But doing internet work like I'm doing, it's a 50-50 when I'm trying to sell, my wares. I'm finding meeting people face to face works a little bit better. But I am picking up steam as far as my online presence. I've gotten a few people asking for information from me from online, so that's working well. Right now, this community, I've everybody I've met has been online. I've not met face to face with anybody but Craig, but that was way after I'd met him online and talked to him online.
You're right.
So I do a lot of business or a lot of consulting and talking to people and online. So I think it's 50-50. You got to do both.
So you both are talking about sales as being the main purpose, and I like to think of building community. Certainly it can be and is around sales, but I like to think about it with an expanded view of that, because I think there are lots of other very valid and important reasons why we need community. So that's one of the issues. Heidi, what about you? I know that you live in I know that you connect with an expat group, and and you've been doing sort of both.
For me, sales is not a reason in my life. Fortunately, I have a little pension. Also, I figured out that I have to pay unbelievable high percent of taxes for that. That's really, this morning it was a shock. Anyway, maybe I should think about selling something in the future. So, but for me, it's more finding people with whom to talk about things which I'm interested in. And that's how we met also, no?
Yes.
Also this group, because I was very much in figuring out the technology of how things work and so on. And we met at Wealthy Affiliates, and at the beginning I thought to do affiliate marketing, but with books, I think I earned about $15 so far in 3 years or something. It's negligible, I would say. So for me, it's important to meet people, and it's very hard for me, I would say impossible, to find people around me where I can continuously talk about things in which I'm interested. I had that with Mark. I had the whole day we were talking. And now when he is gone, I even more need people to talk about the integral topics, for instance. Now I've created several chat groups on Zoom, also women groups, and just to connect. And some of them I never met in person. Some of them I met first online and then in person, and it was seamless. And some others I knew before in person, not from here, from other places where I met them. And I don't see a big difference, I must say. Unless you want to do something physical together or dance or so, then you certainly cannot. But for conversations, online is perfect for me, because I don't have to go anywhere. I have it at home.
Well, we can all get up and dance if you want.
Yeah, but not with you. How can we dance together? I'm very grateful that these possibilities exist, because if they didn't, I probably would be in total depression or something, because I don't know how to live life without people with whom you can
sincerely talk about what you are interested in.
Yeah.
I have every now and then I have people here living with me, but most of them are still not interested in what I'm interested in.
Right.
So
So I'm glad you brought that out as another possibility, and it's interesting that your own experience that you don't find a difference. That's interesting. What about you, Vivek, over there? I know that you interact locally there, but maybe on a different from business.
Yeah, I do interact with a lot of people, and the point that Heidi is highlighting is I see that almost every day. For example, people of, I'm not trying to be ageist or something, but I see that of people of certain age tend to be more lonely, and that's where I see a lot of need for community interactions and so on and so forth. So yeah, as such, I am part of a online news group, but that has a entirely different focus. It has a different reason to be together in that group. So I can say it is a community, but there is an entirely different driving force behind that community. So
that's interesting that you use that term, because I was sitting here, I wrote down a number of things that I thought were important factors, and the very first one, of course, was a common purpose, or something in common, or a common interest or a common purpose. And as I think about the community choir that I belong to here, the common purpose is that we all want music in our lives, and we enjoy kind of a regular get together, etc. But the other thing that pops up is that we find other people that we have a lot of other things in common with. So even though we're all there because we need some music in our lives, we're finding that we find commonalities in things that we like to talk about, things as organizations we like to support, all of those things. So getting together for one purpose sometimes can generate some interest in some other smaller sub-communities, which is kind of an interesting thing that happens. I know that has happened in my group. A bunch of tenors, of which I'm a part, we get together after choir we go to a little local pub and have a beer and have some food. Now we've started doing some road trips together and doing all kinds of other things, and our conversations around the table cover a huge variety of things. So it can it can expand. So but certainly I think that's one of the main things, is a common purpose and or a common interest. And I suppose, as I think about this, if we're thinking about sales or being in business, it's around a common need, maybe, as well. So,
can I
yeah.
in here? Yeah. So, I actually, more or less, I have a question for everyone. Amongst here, how many of you are interested in or have thought about creating an online community, but are hesitant for, whatever reason, I mean, whether it be, don't know where to start, or, the process seems like a long process. Like if there's anyone here that's wanting to start a community, I think the best thing to do is just start it.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter what, you know, and not to overthink it, you know, because often I notice that there's people will, you know, say, okay, well, I want to start an online community, but, you know, let's do a ton of research, and then you'll be the world's most knowledgeable person about it, but then you won't start, you know? So I think the best thing to do is just start. Create that Facebook community, create that online community, your own site. I mean, the community can still exist as an email newsletter, you know? I mean, I think the phrase itself, or the word itself, community, is quite subjective in terms of how, you know, one is going to perceive it. So, you know, to me, a community is a group of like-minded individuals who gather in one single place, but then there's always going to be one leader, if you will, or one person who kind of, you know, distributes the information and starts the conversation, similar to this community right now. So all you know, all of us here are a community, and, you know, our fearless leader is, you know, Coach Lau Land. Whereas my community, I'm the fearless leader, and you know, my people are my community. So I you know, I love being a part of a community. I love building communities because you know, we talked about sales, and that is, you know, a heavy influence about building a community, or it's typically the end result is maybe we won't call it a sale, maybe we'll call it a conversion, because a conversion doesn't always necessarily need to be a sale. It can be a lead, it can be a purpose, it can be a change, you know. So, because I know Nathan's typically all about, you know, changing his own life and other people's lives through a lot of the movements that he speaks of. So, you know, that could be Nathan's conversion point, or CTA, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, just start that community, and it doesn't matter. It can be internet marketing, it could be air fryers, it can be you know, hang out in Italy with Heidi, you know, and it could be any kind of community. The point is, you just got to start it and then figure it out later, you know, because the world is not going to end if you start it and it goes wrong, you know. Just got to get back on that online community bicycle and go again.
But I think you're right. As I was thinking all of this, it probably does need to have a leader, or a facilitator, let's say. So I think that's another sort of important piece, is that somebody that's kind of holding it together so that it doesn't explode and go off in all directions. So
that's kind of where I'm at, is starting a community. I haven't done it yet.
Oh.
And where I'm getting to the point where I'm getting ready for it. I progressed with my websites to where I'm happy with them and they don't need a lot of work. So now it's time to build communities around the websites. And I also need to be building a community around my real estate business. And I'm getting ready to start that. And it's a very intimidating process because, number one, I find myself in a time restraint and not having enough time. And now do I have time to lead a community? Because I've been involved in those communities and I've seen what it takes to lead some of them, and it takes a lot of time. So
yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, to set up what you've set up with OBS and your streaming and all that, it takes, I mean, you've taken weeks of time to get it set up, and
over a long stretch of time.
But it takes that time.
It does.
Now am I going to dedicate all my time to doing that and getting it set up? So I got to take Jay's advice and jump into the water and find out how deep it is.
Dive in.
The hot tub's warm.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's only a hot tub. It's like that big ocean I'm seeing, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Eventually, it's an infinity pool. Kind of bring up a really good point, because, you know, we talk about the technical elements of building a community. So it sounds like you're wanting to build a community where it involves having a camera, a green screen, so there's a visual component to that community. So, but I'm sure I don't know honestly, but perhaps the community is also online to the point where it's not you always on camera. So maybe you can start that element first, and then grow from there. Community can also be just a forum. You can create your own little forum, and also there's for those who are running WordPress websites, there's lots of great plugins and extensions that you can create your own little online community that generally speaking don't require a lot of technical knowledge to set up, right? So
I can say something to that, because I'm just setting up a forum on my website and struggling a little bit to get the things done, so that not everybody can subscribe and things like that. So I'm asking Mama Google or Papa Google or to help me to get that in place. But I have some success, so I hope it will work out. So that it's for the group I'm doing.
Just started, right?
For the group I do on Zoom, to have a place where instead of sending around emails, which go all lost somehow, so that to have a place where you can post the things and where they keep, and people can, when they are subscribed or registered, they can go there all the time and see that. And I find it very useful. But I wanted to say another thing. In old times, Lowland, we tried to do Google Plus communities, no? And or even Facebook communities, they are all sort of limping along. And so I think the way is better having community on video first. And then when you have something interesting, then you might do connect writing on another place. Because at least for me, writing is not my first, or writing and reading, my first, how do you say, inclination anymore. But it's much more talking together and co-creating something together. And with writing, it's so, it's takes so long until somebody else is responding that it's not this immediate possibility to say, hey, I want to say something.
Right.
I agree with you, Heidi. I'm more of a video guy. It's taken me a while to set up, but writing is something that I'm not the best at, and it just it's a lot easier to set up a community with a video chat and go that way. So I'm in the process of exploring where I'm going to go next with it, whether it's going to be videos on YouTube or whether I'm going to do live video or both. And so I'm now set. I've got my lights, got my camera, got my backgrounds, and so it's just a matter of doing it. And probably in the colder months, there's nothing to do outside, and I don't have to go and fix washing machines for the wife and all that kind of stuff. I'll be bored, and then that's when I'll start doing it.
That's a video in itself.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that's where we met, Lowell and me, and the Hangout community, where we learned the Hangouts at the beginning.
Yeah, we did. Right on.
It was a learning curve, but now it seems so natural
absolutely. Okay, so we kind of explored that whole idea of whether whether there's a difference between an online and a face-to-face. So and I'm remembering that, Nathan, that you had talked about how you set up a meetup at one stage of the game, and how you're sort of doing some of this, using some of those same skills. What was it, for a cribbage group? So common interest again.
Yep, it's true. It's I mean, listening to those of you talk here about the overhead and setting it up, that was not my experience at all. I set up my group in half an hour. And I followed the instructions on Meetup on how to create it. I had 8 people show up the first time. And then it went into a long period of up and down until I finally figured out exactly what I wanted to offer. But I actually found it really easy. And it just took time, but not the amount of time that you guys are talking about in terms of running it. And even now with setting up cribbage, it was super easy. All I did was just put up an ad in a few Facebook groups. Boom, I had a group. I've had 3 so far, having my 4th one tonight. And in terms of building the actual presence, going to create a Facebook group down here and just set it up. And but this time around, because I'm using Facebook, I'll have to use an autoresponder. But the truth is, I found it incredibly easy to set up. Mind you, I had a very simple plan, still do. And I've been asked yesterday about forming a mastermind group. Same idea, just different rules. Into the group, but the actual setup, ongoing maintenance, and so on. I mean, if I'm going to think about how much time I spent, no more than 3 hours a week, and probably less than that, because the ads were really easy to do. I used Victoria, Craigslist, and Kijiji, as well as Meetup itself. The ads were all text-based, no images. And once I was clear on my purpose, I mean, the group grew very quickly after a time. I had hundreds of members in a few years, very strong presence within Victoria. And in terms of dealing with the membership and problems, what I've done is I put up a couple of links to reports in your comments section there, so people can download them. So one is about what I actually did and the benefits of doing it. I have a photo of one of my meetups, and you can see about 30 people sitting in a room at Serious Coffee. I mean, once it got going regularly, between 10 to 40 people every single week. So in terms of why did it work, there were a lot of reasons. Simplicity was one, consistency was another.
Yes.
They did it every single week, Tuesday night, 7 to 9, at Serious Coffee, or initially several locations, but that didn't really matter. People kept showing up regardless. And it was, in my opinion, relatively easy. It was one of the most successful things I ever did. And down here in Mexico, I know what to expect. I've been through it before. So I'm using cribbage partly as a way of building community around me to meet friends, get that going, but also to refresh my chops on doing it. And now, like I said, I've been asked to do a mastermind, and I'm also very seriously considering forming a group, but it will be specifically about how to build community, how to create long-lasting friendships, how to create relationships. I'm thinking of using one of the common terms that is floating around on the internet right now, which I'm going to planning to use the term "best friends forever," which I hear so much online, or BFF, and just it'll be about the art and science of creating relationships. But you know what I'm hearing in the group this morning is a lot of overthinking. It's like Jay was right. You just jump in and do it. Like there's a copywriting outfit out there. What's his name? Having trouble thinking of its name, but they have a newsletter. And if you've ever seen the newsletter, it's the worst mess of information I've ever seen. The organization is terrible, but they live by a simple motto: ready, fire, aim.
You're right.
Which is essentially what Jay is advocating here, which is essentially what I'm advocating here. So jump in and do it. Like if you have Meetup in the States or Canada, it's a really great way to begin. I mean, one of the things I love about Meetup is it's got an autoresponder built in. And you've got a platform ready-made for you to build your community real fast. And if you can use it, use it. Highly recommend it. It's not anywhere nearly as difficult as you think it would be. I mean, you could probably figure it all out in an evening or less and start getting your group happening. And if you do what I've written about in my reports that I've sent out or that I've posted, you do some of that stuff, you put it into play, you'll be astonished by how easy it is. I mean, you will have problems, sure. Organizational issues, you'll have troublemakers who show up, and you'll have to learn how to deal with that. But it's really not that hard. And
well, Nathan, I think what everybody was referring to was the the technology pulling all these things together, and I mean, it's becoming simpler and simpler as time goes on. And I mean, when you speak about Meetup, I mean, Meetup was it's a platform. It's just meetup.com.
Yep.
All of the things that you need are there, and it is a very efficient platform to allow you to organize something, but it's not intended for online communities.
No,
it's intended for a face-to-face, community-based situation.
Yeah.
So
it's true. It's not meant for
no,
online.
no.
But online, I mean, very similar rules apply. And if you're
That's true.
looking for inspiration on how to create a group like that, it was just simply do a search on Facebook itself to find people who are doing something similar and model it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fastest way to success in any endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody who's doing well and model what they do. Talk to them too. Learn from them. Find out what their strategies are. I'm sure they'd be willing to share, especially if you're not a conflict for what they're doing.
Well, and I mean, there are some things that I know as I thought about this. There are some principles that do ensure success. I mentioned one of them: common purpose, agreed upon principles and ground rules.
Yeah, and I've stated that in my report.
Yeah, and the other one is the concept of inclusion. Especially when there's somebody new, to give them to give them an opportunity and to connect with them and all of that. And another one that came up for me just recently, because it happened to me, I got invited to a group, a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, that Facebook group is the moderator. Her name is September. I don't know if she's out there watching. She did indicate that she might come and watch. But she, through the way she moderates her group, involves that inclusion and invitation to people to participate and to interact. So engagement is so important. As opposed to going to something and just hearing a guest speaker speak. That's not enough to have people sort of want to return. There has to be that interpersonal engagement.
I never did guest speaking in my group, not once.
Yeah, but
he was very specific on the purpose.
Yeah.
And it worked just fine every single week. There was never an issue.
Yeah.
Not that way. There were issues, sure, but it mostly had to do with certain members coming up to me and saying, I don't like what you're doing and I demand that you change it. I'm going, hey, first thing you need to know is this isn't a democracy. This is my group, and my and what I do is law. And if you don't like it, feel free to form your own group, but you're not going to get me to change what I'm doing to suit you. And I had quite a few, not that many conflicts with people like that, but they did happen. And I would just say to them, okay, form your own group. And they would do it. And in every single case, they failed.
Well, and that's getting back to creating a common set of ground rules. There has to be conversation about that so that people...
I had them, but it really didn't matter with some people. There were some people who had an entitlement attitude, and it didn't matter what the ground rules were, and I had no choice but to throw them out. There was really no other option.
People tend to feel very empowered behind a screen.
What's that?
Unfortunate realities. People tend to feel very empowered behind a screen or in front of a keyboard.
This was actually in real life. It wasn't.
This was face to face, yeah.
This was face to face. I had one woman like I write about it at the very beginning, made the mistake of befriending this woman. She tried to steal the entire membership of my group. She created a massive fight And knowing what I know now, in a restaurant, a huge confrontation, knowing what I know now, I would have called the police. Please get this woman out of here. Because she created that much trouble. And she was calling me a liar and, yeah, you know, just really terrible stuff. But she was a Spanish teacher. She saw an opportunity. She tried to poach the entire membership for her own ends, but she made several major fatal mistakes. One of them is that she didn't have control of the membership. I did. I sure as hell was not going to share with her.
Well, I can say that in the 5 years that I've been doing this success circle, I've never had that experience. No. I've had nobody trying to do anything that anybody was uncomfortable with.
It was a different dynamic, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, your group is online. My group was face to face.
Well, that's what I've been trying to determine. Is there a big difference between the two?
Nathan?
I don't know if there is a big difference. Venue maybe, but online, in my opinion, is much easier to police than something in person.
Hey, Nathan?
Yeah.
You said you put some comments in the YouTube video?
No, he put it in the comments below.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I just didn't see him. That was why I was asking.
No, I didn't go to YouTube. You directed me to the comment section of the website.
Yeah, that's fine.
When I clicked on the link to submit the comments, all of a sudden my screen went white, and I couldn't tell if they actually went through or not. So I don't know what happened there. I just saw this thing to do with PHP, a white screen, and that was it.
You got kicked out.
Maybe. Wouldn't be the first time.
So now, Paul, you initially, I don't know if that was during our chit-chat before we went live or after, I can't remember, but you said that you stumbled on something that you found very interesting from a community building perspective.
Yes, well, one of the people I like to follow every week is Social Media Examiner, and something showed up there last week. I think was the first time I recognized it, and it's called MightyNetworks.com, and it appears to be a platform that's built to try and tackle all of the challenges that we've been talking about. And as always happens with technology, as platforms change and things go on, somebody looks at building a better mousetrap.
Yes.
It's very recent. The people that are moving to it now appear to be people who have followings, and they're moving their followers there. I have no following, so I am going to see how it works if you go start from scratch and see what you can do. So I'm going to play around with it and see what it is, but you might want to just have a look at it and see if it works, or see if the idea that they're creating has any appeal to anybody.
I'm actually familiar with that software.
That's all right.
I'm familiar with the Mighty Networks website and the engine behind it. So, yeah.
I thought of your network a lot when I was looking at what they're doing. I thought that there seemed to be some similarity in how all of them work.
Yeah, they actually had a really cool tool on the site where it helps you name your community. It's funny because they've got examples. I remember one, there's like Goats of Anarchy, and there's like a Lego one, and you know, it's kind of neat, right? It's like a name. It's basically a name generator, right? To create a tongue-in-cheek kind of a community, right? And I think that's a really brilliant idea, because I think an online community should be fun, right? There shouldn't be, you know, and obviously it's subjective on the topic of community. You know, but I still think it should be fun, you know, whether it be the name or the purpose and the passion inside the community, right? Because I mean, I may be wrong here, but I don't think anyone would really want to join a sad community, right? Community is to bring people together, and it's like a virtual hug, so to speak. So
the only thing about that site like that is that it goes back to what you and me and many of us have been talking about, which is don't build your house on leased land. And that's one of the things I talk about in my reports, echoing what you said and many others, is using Facebook, Meetup, whatever, as a way of eventually getting the people off those sites and on your own, because if something goes kaboom, you have your list and you have your contacts. But if you don't do that, you're screwed. And that was, in retrospect, that was actually a major mistake that I made, which I won't be making again, because I know now. But you know, with Meetup, it was perfect. I never had a problem. But it could have happened, and I'm very lucky that it didn't. You know, in retrospect, but it's so important, as Jay and others have been saying, is to create a call to action for people to join your list. Partly in case things go kaboom, but also if you want to monetize what you're doing, you definitely need a list.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think they've taken care of that by allowing you to brand it with your own website. So it's your property and their tools, sort of thing.
And it's online. It's a web-based platform.
Web and mobile, yeah. The mobile looks pretty.
Really?
Yeah. As I say, it's I want to play around with it some more, and I'm sure Jay has played around with it probably more than I have, or more aware of it. So I'm sure he's got some good comments he can throw in. Anyway, peeps, I got to go. It's top of the hour, so
it certainly is top of the hour. Where does the time go?
I have to go too. I have a meeting right after this.
Well, why don't we? We are right at the top of the hour. So if anyone has anything, a parting comment, if now's the time to make it. And if not, I will. Sorry, was that you, Jay, waving to make a comment?
I just wanted to say, you know, like kind of reiterating what I was saying earlier is you know, I'm going to quote my old gymnastics coach. His name, he was a Russian. His name was Eugene Orshin, a very frightening and intimidating man. And he said, he's always said, words have stuck with me. Don't try, do.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah. Don't try, do. And that's really what it's all about, you know. I mean, you know, it's so, you know, you can think about it as much as you want. You can be the world's most knowledgeable community creator, but if you don't do it,
that's what Master Yoda also said.
That's right. You know, do is
There is no try, do or don't do. No try.
That's right.
Right on. All right. So thank you all for an interesting conversation. And I want to close this meeting with a reminder that it's important to do what you love with passion. We shall see you next week.